here. So this is Connections Over Coffee, and hold on, I need to shut my door here. It's floating open. Hold on a second. Well, I'll turn it over to Carmella. Carmella, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on, and then I'll be right back after I shut my door.
All of a sudden now, everything's printing. I tried to print an hour ago.
Oh,
And now the print, I'm like, what's going on? There's a ghost here.
oh.
I have been like bombarded lately with my husband because everybody is filing bankruptcies. I'm talking and everybody wants it now. So normally I try to take a half day or not work on a Friday, but I'm in the office. I'm doing my thing. I have new specs on that I just got Monday because I'm getting old in my eyesight. They have to make them stronger now, the bifocals and everything. But we've
got Sam in the audience. Sam, come on up. I'm gonna click on through, and that way we can chat with you as well. And Diane, I don't know if you remember that Carmella's husband is an attorney, and Carmella works for him, and that's why she's up to here with foreclosures and bankruptcies.
Are you in Lima, Carmella? Did I remember that you're in Lima, Ohio? Okay.
Right. Now, were you in Westerville or Worthington?
Worthington.
Worthington. I knew it was one of those two.
Right. And my husband actually grew up in Bluffton. So
really?
real
Okay.
close to Lima. Yep. And he actually owns a Cartridge World store. So if you're having any problems with your printer, feel free to give him a call. Because he's an expert.
All of our Cartridge World stores closed here in Lima.
Oh, right. We actually knew the owners, but the store in Dublin here is still in business. That's the one that my husband owns.
Okay.
So
I'm always in Dublin because my daughter's there. So.
Okay. Yeah. I can put the address and phone number in the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Sam, welcome. Welcome. We're glad you're on with us this morning. I see that you're in the car. It looks like you're going somewhere this morning.
Yeah, I just got out of a meeting. I was trying to make this. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late. This is the first time I've been doing the meetups online. It's a little different for me, so trying to get used to it.
Well, this is just
everybody.
Yes, just to kind of give you a little heads up. This is just a chat. We don't have any agenda when we come on. It's just to build relationships, and we do feel like we're getting to know people better. Carmella and I are actually family through a marriage of her brother and my niece, but we never see each other because we're so far apart. And I look so forward to this particular meetup because I actually get to talk to Carmella.
Yeah, amazing.
Exactly.
Where's everybody located?
Carmella is Lima. Diane is Worthington. I'm Canal Winchester, Ohio. How about you, Sam?
I'm in Dublin.
Okay. We're all Columbus people. We're all Ohio people, at least. Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. Great to meet everyone.
Yes. And thank you for being here. So I didn't mean to step on your conversation, Carmella, but I wanted to bring Sam into the conversation. So.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
So now with Farley being an attorney and you say you're finding a lot of folks are filing bankruptcy. Now that surprises me because in my circle, I'm not seeing that. And so that's good to know. I didn't realize that. So there is an uptick in the bankruptcies.
Yeah, there's like been an upswing in them, and it's like, oh my gosh. And unfortunately, I become a mother too, because some people, I know it's overwhelming, so I try to walk them through it, but I'm like, I need this from you. And they think I'm telepathic or something, that I can come up with all this stuff and just wave this magic wand and make all their troubles go away. And I'm like, I wish I could, however, but he's still busy with juvenile court too. So that's kind of like increased. We're like busy people.
Wow. So it sounds like maybe you could use maybe a helper on your end.
I talked to someone, so I might get someone extra in the office to kind of help me out with stuff part-time, which is good. We were supposed to be leaving next week to go to Williamsburg, and I canceled our trip. And then he just asked me yesterday, so are we still going? And I'm like, no, I canceled last week because I said, we're just too busy. And for me to take the time away, and my mom has to see a hematologist now because they're wondering about her blood and stuff. And for those of you who don't know, I also am like a full-time, part-time caregiver for my mom. She's still at home with my dad, but sometimes she doesn't trust my dad because sometimes she doesn't trust me, but she has dementia, and it's kind of like the onset. And some days are really good, and I'm like, how do you know this stuff? But then other days, she repeats and it's not so good. So I take her to all her doctor's appointments, schedule those, and do all that fun stuff. But on an up note, they celebrated 52 years of marriage on February 5th. So
Wow.
that was a Sunday. I cooked dinner and took it to them and had the whole family over. And I brought a cake and all that stuff. And my husband was like, you didn't bring any cake back home. So I said, I'll see them Thursday. So this was from Sunday to Thursday. And I go, she has an appointment. There was still half a cake left. I went, there was no cake left. My parents are getting old. They love sweets. And I'm like, you guys ate a half a cake in 4 days. So
Oh.
Hey, that sounds about right.
yeah. But it's that fun stuff, that I'm doing. And I'm thinking that coming soon, I may be planning a wedding because my daughter's boyfriend, after all these years, he asked me Saturday, so how do you feel about me asking your daughter to marry me? And I'm going, seriously? I've only been waiting for the last 10, 12 years. I'm like, what, you're not married yet? I thought you ran off. So, and then he says, well, maybe we might want to go to a courthouse or do a destination. I'm like, listen, she's my only child. So you're
Mhm.
not taking the frills of me getting dressed up away. It's all about me.
So have you talked to her about it? Has Jade mentioned it at all?
She has. She does not want anything really big. Unlike her friends, she was in 3 weddings the year before last, 2021. 2 were back-to-back weekends, and the one wedding, she was Nigerian, so they had literally 2 big weddings.
Mhm.
The first one, her parents, I'm good friends with them. They spent over $400,000.
I
The
can't wrap my mind around that, but I
the
get it, but I can't wrap my mind around
I
that.
know, the second one was close to like 800,000, and that one was in Kentucky, right, Cincinnati, Kentucky area. So, and it was like, we were gone for like an entire weekend. My husband didn't go to the second one because he goes, listen, she got one gift. He goes, I love them, but I'm not going. So I took my girlfriend with me, and because she knew them too. So she was my +1, but it was nice, but very expensive. They did not, hold back on anything. But my daughter,
Yeah, I worked for years at the Concourse Hotel, which is no longer there. It was at Port Columbus, and we had large banquet space. And so we would do weddings. And I was the senior sales manager. So I was putting together those kinds of weddings. And I never had anywhere near that caliber ever.
Jay just wants something small. She's in the finance industry. And
Yeah.
so she said, I think it's a waste. I'd rather spend money on a house and invest in something that's like tangible, which, I don't blame her, with that. So she's like, she wants something small. And she goes, then we can have a big reception. She said she doesn't want to sit down dinner because she goes, I won't get to eat because everybody wants a picture with the
Mhm.
bride and stuff. She said, so if I can't eat, no one else can eat. You can have like finger foods. So we'll
Well,
see.
we just tell her, just so she knows, if it's at the dinner hour, people eat the finger foods as if it were dinner. And
Yeah.
so if she's going to do finger foods, she has to do a lot of it because people will fill their plate like they're eating dinner. They don't take
Oh
just
yeah.
2 or 3. Yeah. So as long as she's aware of that, it won't save her in cost. It may save her in the style of reception she wants to have, but it won't save her for cost.
She's looking at, for the longest time, she looked at the Bar Association, the Ohio State Bar, because for her to get a discount. I'm like, oh, your dad can get a discount for being a member of the Ohio State Bar. So they're in Columbus. So we'll see. So I told her, I said, make money and save up more.
Well, I like her thinking about investing because, of course, you can see here on my little Hollywood square, I'm a passive income coach. So I'm all about the investing. So yeah, it does my heart good to know that she's thinking in those terms, at least.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah. Well, new for us. Again, we're in Florida at the moment. We bought a condo in Sarasota, and I'm a real estate investor. So searching out real estate is my hobby. And this is a pretend background behind me because we drove from Sarasota up to Spring Hill to visit my girlfriend and her husband, and I'm actually in her spare bedroom. And so this is my pretend coffee shop scene behind me, my virtual background. And it's my favorite one if I'm not actually at home in front of my own little, where I do all of my recordings. I do 8 podcasts a month, all different topics, but they all are geared toward passive income. Everything from long-term rentals to short-term to mid-term to monetizing blogs to building a better business, even to creating nonprofits and giving back once you get to a certain place in your career. So this is my retirement gig. I was a single mom for many, many years. This is before, I think Carmella may have met me. I can't remember when you and I finally met each other or when the kids got married and then I met you. But I was a single mom for years and worked minimum wage jobs and struggled. So I finally landed in the cosmetology industry, and I ended up retiring after 25 years with 5 beauty salons. But I was all about the real estate. So the 5 beauty salons was a kind of a means to an ends of me purchasing 5 commercial buildings. And so I retired with 5 commercial buildings under my belt. So now I have 24 doors total. And it's a combination of commercial, residential, long-term, short-term, midterm. And that's my real passion, is the real estate. And so when I found this condo in Sarasota, I grabbed it and bought it without seeing it because the price was right. And we just, you know, when you finally, and again, I'll go off on a little bit of a side note here. When you bring in the mindset of abundance and you start changing that, I'll call it that recording that's in your brain, when you start telling yourself something different, it actually, if you've ever studied genetics, it will actually create a new groove in your brain, kind of like how the water and the rocks create a new river, and to where you automatically then start thinking differently. But it's a practice. You have to practice it, which is when people talk about meditation. If you've never meditated before, that's what meditation does, is it helps you start with a clean slate, and then you can start creating new grooves in your brain where your mind will automatically fall. And so if you're not quite following what I'm talking about, it's whenever something happens in your life and you tell yourself something that you've told yourself for years, like, oh, I'm so stupid. When you say that, that's created such a groove that as soon as you do something that is kind of stupid, you automatically tell yourself, I'm so stupid. And that's kind of like your default. And so what I'm talking about is changing your default to something different, to creating a different mindset. And you can do it with practice. And once you create those new grooves to where you're automatically, your thought process goes there, you can then start to create a life of abundance for yourself. And so whenever I want to tell myself, oh my gosh, that just kind of happened, it really didn't. I kind of made it happen because I'm always in that mindset. And so all of a sudden, when you start treating yourself better and you start loving yourself every day, and you tell yourself the good things in life, then good things start to come. It's like when you love the world loves you back. And all of a sudden things start happening that you might think is quite happenstance, but it's really very scientific when you really research the thought process. And so for those of you that are faith-based, if you really think back through the Bible, that's exactly, God thought it and said it and it was, and so we have the ability to do that ourselves at some level. And so all I'm saying is that when I found this condo and I grabbed it because the price was right, we discovered quite happily that it was the perfect spot for us. It is close to the beach. It's close to everything we love. It's close to the bike trails because we love biking and hiking. It's close to theater. We love live theater. There's live theater everywhere in Sarasota. I didn't know Sarasota was known for its theater. It is known for its theater. They have theaters everywhere, and big names are coming through Sarasota all the time, and very inexpensively. And then, of course, we're 10 minutes from the Gulf. So there's all of this sightseeing tours and dinner tours. And for those of you that know me, know that Mark and I met dancing, and there's dance boat tours. And, when we look back, we're like, how did we get here? Well, it's because, again, we're in that groove of having a life of abundance, and changing our thinking changed my entire world. Now, if I could just bottle that somehow and teach some of our young people how easy that it is. And I say easy on one hand, but not easy on the other, because it is a practice. You do have to practice, thinking in those terms, and it doesn't come overnight. But it's kind of subtle when it does come, but when it does, and you look back and you realize that, the world's loving you back. When you start loving the world loves you back. So anyway, so I'm in Florida, and I'm at my girlfriend's house, and we're going to have a wonderful day today. The sun is shining. It's going to be, 78 degrees here, and no rain. So I'm excited. I'm actually facing her window, which is why it looks like I have a light on my face. This is actually the sunshine from her, from the window in her spare bedroom. So so anyway, so that's me. So Diane, how about you?
Well, I'm Diane Kohler, and as Kathy mentioned, I'm in Worthington here in Central Ohio, and I started out after raising my children, helping my husband with his business, which is Cartridge World here in Dublin, and then about a year ago, a little over a year, I branched out and started my own business with Shackley. So that launched in December of 2021, and I am just really loving it. It's a direct sales business. You can work from home, set your own hours, and we offer nutritional supplements and products for weight loss, for health, for excuse me, for boosting your immune system. We also have a sports hydration line for athletes, or those that are working on a lot of physical fitness. We also have a household cleaning line, and we have just launched a prenatal line for expectant mothers and those mothers who are nursing. And, Kathy, I agree with everything you're saying. Last year, Shackley hired a developmental coach. Her name is Danelle Delgado, and she's just a firecracker. She actually was on The Apprentice at one point, and she went, basically, it's a rags to riches story. She was a single mom with 3 very young children, and she was also in a direct sales marketing business, and not having much success. But then she started to pivot, and she became very successful. She started to retrain her brain. One of the things that she used was the Og Mandino scrolls, the 10 scrolls from, what is it? The Greatest Salesman, that book that Og Mandino wrote. And she would listen to these every single day. So that started to retrain her brain. And she started to get rid of the negative self-talk. And so now she is a multimillionaire. She's also investing in real estate. And she's a motivational speaker and coach. She travels the world. And she said that Shackley was the only direct sales business that she wanted to work with because of our integrity and our willingness to put people first. So we're not here to make money, we're here to serve. And she said that that aligned with her values. So, and this
Wow.
month,
I certainly agree with that. Absolutely. Yes.
yes. And this month is Heart Health Month. So my team is focused on talking about the products that Shackley offers that can help with blood pressure, cholesterol. Having a healthy heart is so important. So we're focused on that this month. So a lot of great things that are happening. I'm excited to be part of this team. And it's good to be back seeing you.
Yes, it is so good to see you as well. I love that you're here. I agree with everything that you're talking about. When I got into investing in real estate, somebody was like, oh, well, good for you. You get to buy real estate. And I said, yeah, but it's a way that I can give back as well, because once I buy these rentals, I have the total power to help folks that I couldn't help before. Not only do I have more cash flow that I can give back just in pure hard cash, but I also can help for folks that maybe can't get a rental, that have had some bumps in the road, and I can work with them and get them into one of my properties, because I'm not a big corporation where I've got some big board of directors that they have to pass all of these, mile markers, if you will, to even be eligible to rent from us. And so I can help some of those folks that otherwise couldn't get back into a property. I've helped gals that have had some drug issues in the past. I've helped them get housing for 24 months so that they could get their kids back, things like that. And I've been able to do that. So again, I think it totally is a mindset. It totally is a mindset. And I feel that I am here to serve and to give back. And again, when you love the world loves you back. So thank you for that, Diane. Sam, how about you? Tell us about you. You're new to our little hive here. So what's going on in your world?
Yeah, so I'll give you the 30,000 foot overview real quick here. I am back in Columbus over the last 2 years. I've pretty much been online and raising capital for real estate funds and hedge funds.
Okay.
And now the project that we just took on is pushing me back to do a lot more in-person stuff, and just kind of get out there and network a lot more locally. So that's the context of kind of, how I found you guys and why I'm here. My story, I was a swimmer from the age of 7 until I was 24 years old. So pretty much my life consisted of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, jumping in a pool at 5:20, looking at a black line for 3 hours, and then repeating that over and over and over for 20 plus years. Yeah. So typically athletes are very good hard workers, and I definitely would consider myself one of those, but they're also very much in the line. They're very good at jobs, not necessarily good at being an entrepreneur, because there's a coach, they listen to the coach, they do very well. They don't really think outside of that box. I did not take that path. I was always in arguments with coaches and would always, think my way was the highway, but it took me pretty far. But what it helped me more than anything was it allowed me to get into the entrepreneur space after swimming. And I had refined that skill set of being able to not just follow along with the system. And so I did all kinds of stuff. I was doing a lot of solar stuff when I first got out of I swam at IU, Indiana University. And I was doing a lot of stuff with like solar. That was the first business that I ran. And Diane, when you say you're in direct sales, what a better time to get into that. You know, during recessions is when you find people swarm to those type of opportunities. And I've seen that over and over again. And I've been in all kinds of different models, right? And I'm not really necessarily in a direct sales model now, but it's such a great time to be in that specifically because people are just looking for opportunities around that. So, but yeah, so I did that, and then I went from that until I started raising some capital, right? Speed up to kind of this point, raised some capital for some funds, did pretty well there. And through that process, I realized that these fund managers, they weren't really doing anything of impact. It was more of like, hey, I'm going to take some money and I'm going to make some more money with it. But that's all we're really doing here, right? Like, it's not actually, it's just kind of recycling the same thing to make more money, but it never did anything, you know, like, you know, they would do these projects and stuff, but they're behind it, there was no substance. And I realized that over and over and over. And it took me time because I just wanted to make money at the beginning. But then I saw, you know, kind of like Kathy, kind of what you were saying, like the aspect of being able to give back, that to me started just like showing itself in my face. Like, what are you really doing here? Right? Like, why are you're raising this money, but what is it going towards? And so, long story short, I started searching for something else that would give me a little bit more fulfillment around that. At the same time, I got married, and I'm about to get into my second year here. And so when I hear Carmella talk about 52 years, I've learned so much in the last 2 years about myself. So when I even think to put 50 years, I am a completely different person at that point, right? Of how much I've gone through and learned and stuff. So that's amazing. And congratulations to them. That's unfortunately rare these days.
Yes.
But that's really, really cool to me. And so fast forward, what I learned was, and what I'm doing now is I'm in the education space. I had 2 boys. I have a 2-year-old Koa and a 7-month-old Teo. Interesting names. I know, we just kind of went for it, but I realized really quickly that the education piece was so huge. And when I tell people, oh, I'm in education, they think sit in a classroom, listen to a teacher, bright lights on you, white walls, focus on the teacher, don't get up. And that's what they think of as education. And it couldn't be farther from what I'm talking about. It's more closely related to, Kathy, when you were talking about epigenetics, right? What we do and how we've learned to learn, right? How we've learned to learn is essentially what are we learning about, right? But we're never taught how to actually learn. And so all we know for how is, I'm sure you guys went to high school, university, and if you remember, you had a test to study for, studied like crazy, you cram like crazy, you did all the flashcards, then you take the test, and a day later, a week later, a year later, you know, dramatically lower in terms of how much you actually remember from that and know it, right? So what we do is, instead of memorizing things, we take everything down to the knowing part of the mind and the brain. And we have some really, really cool results from doing this. To, instead of having to go through the process of learning something and then practicing it over and over and over and over, it's called spaced repetition. Instead of having to go through that, we can initially get you to know something like that immediately, right? You still have to walk it. You still have to do the process of like taking the action, but it's at the knowing part of the mind. So you know the information in one go rather than having to repeat it over and over. So that's what we focus on now. And there's a lot of different areas that we're getting into within that, within politics, within just building it locally. That's really my focus right now. But yeah, so that's kind of my 30,000 foot view. Hopefully I didn't take up too much time there.
No, I love that. Now, Sam, do you actually have some sort of a school or an academy that you're housing this under? Or how does that work? Is it a brick and mortar? Is it virtual? How do you connect with your students?
There's a couple tools that we use, but there's a whole system to it, right? So we have every week we'll have calls to help support,
Okay.
right? We have one-on-one support. The tool itself, the main tool is a software, right?
Okay.
So essentially you're downloading it, you're utilizing that software, on a day-to-day basis. And then we have all kinds of events around it. But ultimately what we're doing is we're bringing education back into the home, meaning that it's the responsibility of not the parent, but the actual child themselves. The parent has to get them there to where it's a pattern of doing it. But we found that the child's natural learning ability just skyrockets, and they love to learn after doing it and understanding their responsibility to actually learn. So it's a one-to-one process type of thing.
Okay, so it's mostly done on a software program.
Yeah.
Is how you're that's your delivery. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
And mine is too. Mine is, I'm using tried and true platform Teachable on mine. And then I do these Zoom calls around it, and there's all kinds of masterminds and challenges and all around the different lanes that I'm in. So it sounds like it's similar. I'm sure your platform and mine are different, but it sounds kind of similar as to the learning process. So yeah, amazing. I love it. So Sam, thank you so much for sharing. And and please, everyone on the call, feel free to put your information in the chat for everyone to see. Make sure that you click the everyone button instead of, and again, if it only comes out to host and panelist, I can copy and paste it into it. You may not have the everyone button. I don't know. Diane, yours said just to host and panelists, and so I clicked it to everyone. Are you able to click everyone, Sam, or does it just give you the host and panelist?
I can click everyone.
Okay, yeah. So if you post something over there, click everyone so that we can all see it, or else, but again, we're all on as panelists, so we all should be able to see it either way, but make sure you put it over onto everyone. And I'm going to put mine up there as well. Mine is just kathybinner.com. You can find all my stuff there. And Carmella, you've got some other things going besides just working for Farley. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, of course, I still have my essential oils that I do. I kind of went on a hiatus. Not much of a hiatus. I was still involved, but not doing much, but I'm still interacting with a lot of my customers and everything there, and doing a lot of teachings now, which is something that I've really liked, is like teaching about the oils and the more natural approach. I'm back into meeting with my partner again on the real estate side. So
Okay.
So we do a Zoom. The one lady wanted to do one, like, let's Zoom every 2 weeks or every week. And I'm like, try every 2 weeks, we don't need to talk, just to kind of catch up. And I'm throwing another hat into the mix where, a lot of people call me on the side when they need a notary. But then I remember my mom being a notary, she did a lot of other things with having that notary tool. So for like just the sheer fun of it now, I'm looking into taking a class to get certified so that I can do signings and other things on the side with my notary abilities there. And then
Carmella, I'm a notary, and I do closings.
Really?
Okay. Yep, mortgage closings.
And mom's like, you could do this. This is what I did. And I'm like, I'm actually following in my mother's footsteps of wearing. I was joking with someone. I don't know if anybody's seen that commercial where the lady has all those hats on, of course, and I'm wearing a hat today. That's me. I mean, between that, and then, of course, I'm still involved with like on the hospitality side at church and all that fun stuff there. So I'm enjoying it.
Well, and I think that's the key is do what you love. And, you know, everybody has an opinion of where you should be and what you should be spending your time on, but do what you love. You know, follow your heart, follow your passions, and you'll find the perfect spot. You'll find that sweet spot for you.
And I'm starting to, I don't know if you've noticed, well, you probably will say I've always done this, but I'm doing more like encouragement and inspirational writing through my Facebook now, which is like kind of helping a lot of people. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe I should take that a little bit further. And a friend of mine that used to live in Lima, her and her husband, they sold their house, bought a fifth wheel. She likes warm weather, so she's become a coach, and they kind of travel, and he does construction. He's like really good, so they're all over the place. And she called one day, and I think it was almost like this light bulb. She really like, not that you haven't told me, you know, in the past, but she says, with everything you do and how you're always helping other people, you really need to start charging for certain things. And I told her I was like branding myself. So I came up with, you know, my name, and it's like Mella's essentially Mel. So basically I can use it with my essential oils, but it's like essentially I'm Mel, because everybody for short, it's like I'm Mel or Mella. And but I do so much because I had a girlfriend. She wants to get into the Posh business, like selling on Posh mark. So she asked me for my help, and I thought, okay, I'll help you. You know, just giving her tips. I'm like, I've never done it. That's not my, you know, niche. Well, I went over to show her something. She's like, so what should we do? And I'm like, we are not doing anything. This is your business. So
That's too funny. Did you ask her if she had a mouse in her pocket? What do you mean we?
Exactly. I should have thought of that. So she wanted me to take pictures and post them, price everything, write up descriptions. I'm like, this isn't my business. And she's wanted to do a business with me. My husband brought it to my attention. He goes, from the time you met her, she's always wanted to like latch on and do a business. He goes, but the funny thing is, you're the brains behind everything, and she does nothing but will like collect. She goes, well, you know, and she made me feel guilty because she said, I was praying to God and I told him I needed an expert, and you're my expert. And I'm thinking, no, we're not going there. So I said, I have my own business, like little things that I'm working on. And my goal this year was not to take on a lot of extra. And even like right now, my uncle on my dad's side, because they're trying to get the family with COVID, you know, they didn't have reunions. I got voted like a month ago as like the family secretary. And I'm like, how did this happen? And I'm like, I'm not even technically blood. I go, I was adopted. So, but I guess
Well,
because you're the best
it
person
sounds
for the
like,
job.
yeah, it sounds like that maybe your word for the year might be boundaries.
Yeah, I think it is.
I get it. I get it though, because you're so capable, and that's why people gravitate toward you, because you are caring, you are giving, and you are capable. And so that's why your name comes to the top of everyone's short list when they need something done.
And
And
my word for
so
the year, confidence.
yeah, so I think you need to maybe sit and think about what an appropriate response might be that lets them know you care, but that you can't take on that responsibility. And I think there's a fine line there, because again, you don't want to burn any bridges, but you just need to let them know that your plate is full at the moment. And so maybe stop and think of some phrases that you could use, and then make that groove in your brain that when somebody approaches you, that's the first thing you think of saying. But rehearse it ahead of time. rehearse ahead of time what phrase you want that to be, because I think it's so appropriate for you to set those boundaries in a loving, caring way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I need to have that phrase that I need to use because I am that person. I'm like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. And this person has been like family for so many years. So if I say it, one way, but, I've tried to say, I will give you tools, but you have to do it because, with myself, I've taught myself a lot. I'm a reader, so I'm trying to, read more. And that's how a lot of things are self-taught. I've always been an easy person to catch on to something and do it. I need to take lessons from my daughter. She's like, no, you just don't.
I get it. So yeah, let me think on that and see if I can't come up with a couple of phrases that might work for you. Yeah.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah. Any ideas from anyone that can help Carmella out a little bit? How do you handle that when folks want you to do something that's a little bit outside your realm? That the phrase that I noticed with her is when she said her girlfriend made her feel guilty. And that tells me that in her heart, she really wants to help. And she just knows that it's too much for her right now with everything else that she's obligated to take care of.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's the hardest one for me too. I'm the yes man. Like that has always been the thing with me, is always yes, yes, yes. And I guess when people bring these things on to you and they're asking you to do something, is the biggest thing like what Kathy was saying, is it like guilty of making them feel bad? Is that what it is?
Not all the time, but a lot of times maybe there's a little guilt there, but I had a lady come out and tell me, I mean, sweet. She says, for example, with church, they would ask me to do something because certain things, because they knew I would say yes. They go, you never say no. So I'm thinking, okay, I never say no. And then they said, we know you'll get it done, because when I do something, I'm going to put my best foot. I'm like, I excel at it. I'm going to do it and it's top notch. So it's one of those things where, I can plan something, do a party or whatever, or plan an event, and they know they don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. And that's,
I'm a yes person. Like you said, my husband used to, he still does. He calls me everybody's beck and call girl. He says, they beckon for you and they call you and off you go. He goes, I'm gonna have a t-shirt made. I'm like, oh my God, really? When I think about it, I'm like, I do that, don't I? Because if the phone rings, he's like, so where are you off to now? And he was actually shocked because I did go over to a friend's last Saturday and I was only gone for an hour. And I came back home and he's like, oh my God, you're back already and it's still daylight. So
now I do have a suggestion. I have a suggestion that came to mind. Something that just puts a little space in all those requests. You could respond with something like, I would really love to do that, or I'd really love to help you, or whatever phrase you want to use there. But let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you in a couple of days.
Okay.
And that couple of days is the key, because what it does is it puts some space between the request and by then maybe they've even taken care of whatever the request was. By the time you get back to them, they might go, oh, I got that done. And you're like, oh, well, good, But if not, if they go, no, I was just waiting for you to get back to me, then you could follow up with, I really can't at this time. I looked at my calendar and I'm over obligated. And so maybe we could revisit this down the road. And then just kind of leave it open-ended. So you didn't really say no, but you didn't add it to your plate.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, my mom is the same way. Like, she works with people that are much younger than her, but they ask her to do everything, and they know that she'll get it done. And I think it's a generation thing, to be honest, because my peers, are so lazy. It's pretty incredible, right? And they know that she'll just do it. But it, you know, the conversation I had with her was like, you know, what's the point of them? Because like some people are doing it out of like kindness and sincerity and stuff like that. But then there's also a point of like, they just know that you're going to get it done, right? And that's, in a way, it's kind of like they're taking advantage of that aspect. And what she found to work pretty well, I think it's in How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't know exactly what the chapter is or what it said, but it's like give honest and sincere appreciation before you say no to something. So, you know, because that might give you that part of like where, or this is what she found. She was like, when she did that, she gave them appreciation about what they were doing. She found it much easier to say no after that, right? Because then that feeling aspect was, it's like she gave them something, and then she could say, you know, this is really what I have going on right now. If I take time away from this, I'm not going to be responsible for these other things to the extent that they need. So I don't know if that's helpful, but you know, that's something that, yeah, that's something that she really enjoyed, or, you know, saw effective.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
that you guys know what you're doing. You guys were grown, like my generation, it's crazy. They don't want to do anything. And then the one under me is like, it's even, that's a whole nother topic, but I
Are you a
commend you
millennial?
guys.
Are
I
you?
was born in 90. So I don't know, whatever that is. I don't know if
You're
it's
you're a
That's a
millennial.
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 You're like
Yeah.
my daughter, because she was born in 91, and
Okay.
she kind of thinks like you on those things, and she's like, Mom, I just don't take on anything, you know, because she's had friends, she goes, I want to go out and hang out, but then when
Mhm.
she was taking all her tests for her licensing and finance, you know, she's like, I got to focus on this. She
Yeah.
says, they could do it. She says, and I'm like, you know, I would like to, but no. So, and one person, she's like, Mom, you know, I guess she didn't value my friendship, and they have been friends for over 25 years, but she goes, I don't have time to jump on the road to go there and stuff when, you know,
Yeah.
she tells me,
Responsible.
yeah, she's like, Mom, you just need to say no. Let me tell him. I'm like, you may tell him in a way that's not as friendly as I am.
Well, and part of it too, Carmella, I think part of it too is part of this is who you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to be somebody that you're not, because this is who you are. You want to help. You want, you know, that's part of your personality. And so again, I think it's just learning boundaries and not feeling bad when you do say no. And so that's why I think just putting some space in it, you know, like I would, you know, and kind of like with what Sam said, you know, if you start off by saying something like, wow, your project sounds amazing and I would really love to help. However, and then segue into, I'll need to check my calendar and get back to you in a couple of days. And what that does is it actually disconnects you from having to make that immediate promise. It gives you time to go home and say, oh, heck no, I can't add that. There's no way I can add that to my list. And it'll give you a little bit more courage to then in a couple of days say, I did check my calendar and there's no way I can add that right now. I'm really sorry.
And you know what's really funny is here in the office, a lot of people now with things going on, they want wills and stuff. Well, it takes time to do those, and you know, we can do it, but we've been so busy with other things that I don't have a problem telling people that I'm sorry, Mr. Banks can't take this on because this caseload is really heavy right now. And I know you probably want it done within the next couple of weeks, and he's not going to be able to get to it. I can tell people no for him, but I can't do it for me, which is really weird, you know.
Well,
but
no, it isn't. It isn't. And I'll tell you why. I run into that all the time with folks that I'm training to be landlords. They hate being a landlord because they feel like the tenants just walk all over them. And I said, if you worked for me as a property management company, and I told you to go out and tell the tenant something, you would go, okay, because they don't have any skin in the game. They don't have any emotion in the game. And that's the difference. See, you can do it for someone else, but doing it for yourself, it's harder because you're such a nice person. You hate to disappoint. And that's what happens. I tell a lot of people, I go, you're struggling being a landlord because you're such a nice person. But there's a happy medium where you can still be nice, you can still be giving, you can still be supportive, but still love yourself enough to say no.
Mhm.
And that's a tough one. It is. Yes, Diane.
I was just going to say, Carmella, one thing that I've been doing is setting a timer. So when that timer goes off, it's time to stop and refocus. So I chunk out my work so that I'm not overwhelmed. If I'm in a project, I don't want to be sitting at the screen for hours. You know, I can get sucked into that. So if I set the timer, it's time for me to get up and take a break and move around. You know, maybe change the laundry or take a walk, you know. So if you are helping a friend and your timer goes off, you can say, oh, well, my time is up. I promised you, you know, this amount of time and our time is now up. So you can say, I don't know, I appreciate, you know, helping you, but it's time for me to go, or something like that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I like that idea, Diane. That's very helpful. Because again, Carmella, if you move on into where you're going to charge for some of your services, you're going to have that boundary as well. Or else I can see you charging for an hour and giving them 4.
Yeah, that might happen. Give them that discount. I know when I first started doing with my oils and stuff, had a lady, she was like, you know, I would give samples, you know, and usually for something I'll give free the first time. I said, I have this one person, I go, they're always calling me for samples. Like, oh, I've just given them. She goes, Carmella, what kind of samples are you giving? And I go, oh, a whole package. She goes, you're spending your money and you're giving them. So yeah, they're going to keep coming back because they're getting it for free. So basically you're not holding them accountable. She goes, if you tell them, okay, I'm only giving you so many and setting that boundary there, she says, because you're never going to make money, you know, because you're giving away all your profits and stuff. So I had to learn that, you know, the hard way, but.
Now I have another little hack for everyone in the real estate industry, and especially with my landlord students. They do struggle this exact same conversation, but between landlords and tenants, where the tenant is, you know, like, I'm going to pay my rent really late. I hope that's okay. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. You know, because they're nice. Anyway, so here is what I suggested to them. And maybe, just maybe, we all can use this as a great little hack. Put together yourself a board of directors. Now, right here on this call, we could be our own board of directors. It could be Kathy and Carmella and Diane and Sam. This is our board of directors. It can be any group that you want it to be. It could be your best friend. It could be a partner in your business. It could be, but have your board of directors. And whenever anything comes up, you just say, I would love to do that. Let me check with my advisory board and I'll get back to you. And so now all of a sudden you've got that support team, because that's what you don't have as an entrepreneur, is that when you have a big company and some client comes along and says, here's what we're demanding, you have to take it to the powers that be and see if you're allowed to do that if you're working for a big company. And they might say, no, you can't do that, but you could do this. We'll let you give away this much, but that's too much, you know, and then you come to a conclusion, and then you go back and say, here's what our company can do for you. Here's our proposal. And you can have your own board of directors. It doesn't have to be something big and formal. Now, I do recommend, if you're going to have a business and you're going to function as a business and you have a business website, you could put your advisory board right on your website. And for those of you that want to see what that looks like, if you go to kathybinnercompanies.com, that is my real estate website, and you will see my advisory board right there in my Kathy Binner Companies website. I actually have my advisory board listed, and it's the people that I actually get advice from. You know, it's my attorney friend, it's my real estate friend, I've got a girlfriend that's also a landlord. It's a couple of property managers, it's a contractor. Those are my advisory board people. And I simply asked them, can I include you on my advisory board? And they said yes. And so I literally included them right on my website. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but you're more than welcome to do that. It's easy. And again, it gives you that buffer. The buffer is the key to keeping your boundaries. The buffer is the key. Sam, I think you're froze
that's
there.
great.
Yeah, we can still hear you, but your picture froze, but we can still, oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was looking at your website to try to check out the
Oh, okay.
advisory board. That's a great tip actually, because like I hear that one from these fund managers, and they say that all the time. It's like, okay, sounds great. I got to check with my advisory board. Like I've heard it so many times. So I never thought to actually use it and actually build a board. I mean, I have people, it's like you have people already that you could easily you're already doing it. You just have to kind of formalize it.
Correct. And then you have to use it in your language. And again, you have to change how you talk because you want to lead with that. And again, the buffer is the key, and the advisory board is definitely a perfect buffer. And that's the key to boundaries.
Yeah.
I'll have tenants that call me up and they'll say, Kathy, I need to pay my rent late this month. Is that okay? And I'll go, well, because again, it's written right into the lease that they have 3 days to pay late. And then with late fees, they can even pay 10 days late. But the late fees apply after day 4, from day 4 to day 10, they have late fees. And that's written right into the lease. That's what we all agreed to when they signed in. And then they'll say, can I pay my rent late? And I'll go, well, I'm sure you can, but let me check with my advisory board. I wait 24 hours because I already know the advisory board. I'll come back and just simply repeat what the lease says. I'll go, absolutely, you can pay late. You've got up 3 days you can pay with no penalty, and then it will just be late fees up until 10 days and no problem. And they're like, perfect, thank you. And they're like, Kathy, you're the best landlord ever. And all I did was repeat the lease back to them.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you see that so often where people just don't read it.
And so again, you know, having that advisory board is perfect, but folks are very savvy these days and they will check to see if you have an advisory board. And so I recommend, if you have a website, just ask your people that you're using already, just ask them, say, would you be on my advisory board? And all of mine said, sure, no problem. And so I just put them on my website as my advisory board. And so now my tenants, when they look at my real estate website, they go, wow, she really does have an advisory board. There really is an attorney, you know, and an insurance person, and, you know, and a realtor, and all those people, they're really on her advisory board. And of course, that's the whole point, is to have that advisory board. And those are the folks I go to anyway. They really are my advisory board. So hopefully that's helpful. I think this has been a great conversation. Yeah. Any last comments from anyone? I love getting to know everybody better. Diane, it's so good to see you again. Sam, thank you for coming on. Thanks for coming on the call today.
I have just a quick question. Are you guys open to, I know everybody shared their contacts, but some people are still, I don't know, I'm just asking, but are you guys open to connecting outside of this call?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. That's the whole point of building actual relationships. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Connect as much as you want outside the call. We're all adults. And if somebody, you know, again, anytime you email or whatever, we all have the unsubscribe button. So if anybody that happens to connect through here gets a little overzealous, we can always hit the unsubscribe. but again, feel free to connect, and because you never know where relationships are going to go. And sometimes the most unlikely connections turned out to be partnerships down the road. You know, you never know.
And in fact, Sam, I may have a connection for you. I know an educational disruptor who is pushing for an alternative model in education that is non-traditional. So he said the current education system that we have goes back to 1895.
Yep.
So he said that his goal is to make people aware that there are other options.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
I
Yeah,
love
so
that.
What is his first name?
His first name is SJ.
SJ. I know SJ.
Oh, okay. He lives in Delaware. Okay, so you've met him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I will definitely bring your name up, and that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
He is. He is.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, I
Thank you,
love the
guys.
conversation. Yeah. Carmella, have we helped you at all today or?
Oh my gosh, you guys helped me totally, which is kind of nice. So I really appreciate it.
And
Look,
Yeah, sometimes you need to receive, Carmella, instead of always giving. I know, I get it. I get it.
And Carmella, if it's okay, I'll have my husband reach out to your office and see if we
Yeah.
can help you.
yes, please do. Because actually, my husband, we bought, it was towards the end of last year, I bought a new printer for his personal office here instead of the copier. And I'm having trouble with the cartridges. So, and I just ordered some and now they're not working and they have the
Oh.
chip and everything. And I'm going,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I just spent 200 and something per cartridge.
Oh,
Well, and in
Well-
your line of work, you can't have something like that down because it really puts you behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got way too much going on. And Diane, I looked at where the Cartridge World is in Dublin I love that area of Dublin. If you folks have not been to Bridge Street,
Mhm.
you've got to go to.
Yeah, because I think that's where I come in because it's right there by Riverside. Am I thinking correctly?
Yes.
Yep.
So, because look, I don't remember streets, but I know how to get places. Whenever I come into town, I come in 33 and I
Mhm.
take Riverside to that first one thing that turns because my daughter is like kind of by Bethel. So she's kind of like up Arlington, that area.
His store is there on West Bridge Street. So it's in one of the oldest plazas in Dublin. It's just to the west of historic downtown Dublin.
That's
Okay.
a beautiful
I
area.
know where you're at because it's beautiful. I keep saying I want to stop there and check it out
Mhm.
one day if I'm not always running. So I need to stop and not be rushing so much.
I saw that Raj jumped in. I was just getting ready to jump over and Raj disappeared. So I think they just tapped in to see what was going on. But we are just finishing up our hour. I know everybody's got stuff to do today, but thank you so much for tapping in with Connections Over Coffee. I love that you're all here and mark your calendars. We're here every month and it's the same Zoom code. So if you've registered once and got the link, if you save the link, it's the same link every time we come on. And so make sure that you make a note of that. And I always have to look at my phone because I do several of these a month and I never want to give out the wrong dates and misspeak. So I always have to look. And so we are the third Friday of every month at 10 a.m., the third Friday. So mark your calendars.
Cool.
Diane, hope to see you again. And Sam, Carmella is my co-mod, my co-host. In case I get bumped off my Wi-Fi, she can let me back in. And so anyway, thank you guys so much. And save the chat. For those of you that don't know, if you've got it clicked onto everyone, if you go to the 3 little tiny dots clear over in the corner, it has a place where I'm looking to see if it has a place to save. Yeah, I don't. It does?
Yeah, because I was able to save it.
Yeah, so you can save the chat. That way you can save everybody's information or scroll to what you want to keep and do a screen print if that works for you. But you can do that. I'll give you just a couple of seconds to do that. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. I want to make sure everybody gets the information. Okay, Sam says he's good. Diane's good. Okay, we're good. And we'll see everyone next month.
Great
Bye.
meeting you
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Great
Have a great
meeting you.
weekend.
See ya.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.